The Lowlight King is back. The A7S III just got announced. The pre-order is in 10:01. I clicked that button and it was done, ready to go from B&H. If you're new to my channel, my name is Chris. I shoot weddings, I shoot short films, do a lot of real estate work and a little bit of corporate work too. I do of course make YouTube videos and post a lot of reviews, gear stuff, that kind of thing, mostly focusing on Sony, but I do shoot a little bit of Canon, probably a little bit less now with the announcement of this camera. The A7S III is by far the most anticipated camera that we have seen this year, last year, probably even the year before. We've been waiting for this thing for a while. The good news is that Sony listened. Everything we asked for, all the problems with the A7 III, all the things with the A7S II that were wrong, they fixed them. All of them. I'm struggling to find any form of an issue with the A7S III so far. I've watched all of the embargo lifted YouTube videos, I've read all of the specs, and these are my thoughts. If you're worried about the 12 megapixels, this camera might not be for you. But let me just start by saying 12 is still a decent size. Great for uploading online, Instagram. Basically, unless you're really needing to print them huge, 12 megapixels is probably gonna be more than enough for you. That being said, if you need more, go with the A7R series or even the A9 too. Flip screen. We have a proper flip or articulating screen finally on the A7S III. Now this isn't just for vlogging, this is for if you need to point your camera at yourself, if you set up on a tripod and you need to be able to look at it, if you need to set up a weird angled shot, or if you're down low, or if you're up high. These are things where a flip screen can really come in useful, and I'm so happy that they have actually put it on this camera. On top of that, it is a higher resolution screen, 1.44 million dots over the measly 968,000 dots, I believe, on the A7 III. I did not like the screen on the A7 III. It didn't read exposure properly. That was an issue for me. This looks like they've used the same high quality screen from the A7R series, which means it's going to be good and we can trust it. I'm really looking forward to using this screen. It's kind of hard to explain until you've actually used it. The easiest analogy is going from 1080 to 4K. There's a noticeable difference going from a lower res screen to a higher res screen. You can now see that things are in focus. It makes a lot of difference. On top of that, it is now a touchscreen. I absolutely adore the touchscreen on the USR, being able to tap to focus, all the menus, being able to flick through them by just touching, that is a big deal. And in all the videos I've watched so far, it looks like they implemented the touchscreen flawlessly. It looks like it works exactly how it should work. And I'm genuinely excited to have a touchscreen, fully articulating touchscreen on a Sony camera. Another little issue that they fixed the doors. So where you connect your camera's ports to a cable, they're no longer little flaps that just dangle and jangle around. They are now actually on proper hinges. Nice little design tweak there, which I really like. In Gerald Undone's video as well, he shows that you can fully flip the fully articulating screen and have a mic cable plugged into its own individual door, and it doesn't interfere. That's a good thing. So this camera is obviously a low light powerhouse. The A7S series is designed for shooting video in lower light environments. Now, in Gerald Undone's video that he just posted today, he actually tested this and compared it to the Canon C300, which is a cinema camera. It has a very similar dynamic range to that camera, which is incredible. It destroys the Canon R5 in terms of dynamic range, and it looks very usable in extremely high ISOs. Again, this is going to be the benchmark for all mirrorless cameras moving forwards in terms of low light capabilities. So let's talk about video specs, because there is a lot of them. We have 1080p, 240 frames per second, double what we have with the A7 III. We got 4K 60, we got 4K 120. 4K 120 has a 1.1 times crop. I can handle that, no big deal. The big key for both of these is there is no overheating. In all the videos I've watched so far, they all mentioned that they recorded for over an hour with no overheating, not even the symbol, which we cannot say for the R5 or the R6. We've got 10-bit 422 with high bit rates of up to 600 megabits, and you can go down lower if you want to. You don't have to use those high bit rates. If you don't know what this means, essentially, if you like to color grade, you're gonna have a lot of flexibility, a lot. There's gonna be so much information captured, and it's gonna be a dream to edit with. Well, maybe not edit. Bit rates are going to make it sometimes hard to edit, but in terms of color information, there's going to be a lot to work with. Also, you have Prores Raw, so if you're recording with an Atmos here, like I am today, once they update it, you will be able to record Prores Raw directly from the camera, which again is amazing. It's not something I'm going to use, but if you wanted to shoot a super high-end commercial or something like that and have complete flexibility, you could do so. The easiest way to describe what RAW does, if you're not familiar, you know how when you're editing a RAW photo, you just have so much flexibility. You can bring down your exposure hugely and save things that were in the highlights that were just blown out. You're gonna be able to do the same thing with video. We have the same color from the ZV-1, the little portable pocket vlogging camera that Sony brought out earlier in the year, and the FX9. So the colors on those, people are really liking. They're saying it looks really natural. Sony's best color science they've ever done. So that whole color science debate for Sony, hopefully, is dead now. Sony has great color. We do have now a full-size HDMI port, which means you can use this cable. So be this on both ends, opposed to this little one here. I didn't have a huge issue with these. I would say I went through them fairly frequently. The problem with these was that they just, because they're so small, they snap off, they break, they bend, and they just wear out pretty quickly. So to have full-size HDMI, 2.1 HDMI, I believe, is now a good thing. The autofocus is the same as the A7R4, which was already incredible. The eye tracking looks insane. In some of the videos I've watched, in Gerald Undone's video, again, he exposes way, way, way above what you'd regularly want to expose and way below, and the eye tracking still just no issues whatsoever. Completely destroyed the R5 in terms of autofocus. He actually makes a claim to say that this is the best autofocus system out there, bar none. The other thing that I took away is that the autofocus is now racking naturally. So I really loved the autofocus on the Canon EOS R, so the dual pixel autofocus. It was a little bit slower, but I found that it looked more natural. Now Sony has added the ability for us to change the settings completely, and if you want to have that slower, more natural looking focus, but with it being as accurate from Sony's autofocus already is, you get the best of both worlds. So we do truly potentially have the best autofocus available on any mirrorless camera out there. Ibis looks like it's been improved slightly to the point where it actually might be usable, at least on the A7 III. To be honest with you, I don't think it really did anything. It was just useless. I never trusted it. I would use a tripod if I need a stable shot or a stabilizer. Now it looks like there actually might be some options in there that we can use. Even if you're shooting in 4K, I think there's a 10% crop, but there's a digital stabilization that Sony has implemented as well. The nice thing is, in the tests that I've looked at so far, it doesn't look like in the corners you have that weird warping from digital stabilization like you do in the R5. So we might have a potentially usable Ibis. It doesn't look as good as the GH5 still, but anything better than the A7 III, I will take. I am interested to see how this will work more in the real world though, so once I get my hands on one, we will test it out thoroughly. I don't know if you noticed, but the record button on the A7S III looks exactly like the digital crown does on the Apple Watch, just circular with a red ring around the outside, almost identical. Don't know why I'm talking about that, but I like the look of the button. I like the placement of it now up top there, right behind the shutter, opposed to on the back of the camera. So if you are filming a video like this, you can just quickly tap it without having to reach around and find where it is. So nice little tweak in terms of the design there. Cost, $3,500 US. That is a great price for everything this camera packs. Doesn't overheat, everything it can do. Extremely fair price. When I say this camera will be hard to get hold of for the rest of the year, probably even into next year, it's gonna be like getting the A7 III when it first came out, near on impossible. So unless you pre-ordered at 10 o'clock on the dot, you might have a hard time getting this camera. I'm sure there's things I missed, but these are the things that I took away from everything I watched, everything I read so far, the things I am most excited about when we get this camera. End of September, I believe. The only negative I can see really with this so far is that it's going to be such an upgrade over the A7 III in terms of the color, in terms of the megabits and the quality of the video, that it's going to not really jive well with the A7 III. So I already sold my A6400 because I was going to go full frame for both cameras, so A7 III and A7S III. Now I'm thinking I might sell the A7 III and just get two A7S IIIs instead. I'm primarily a video shooter. I've been using this a lot for stills recently anyway, so it would make sense. So it's something I'm toying with right now. I would love to have amazing color for both cameras, and if I want to use the A7 III with the A7S III, I just don't see them working together very well. So stay tuned for that. I'll make a decision in the future, I'm sure. I did cancel my R6 order, in case you're wondering. I saw all the videos come out, the real world tests, and that terrifies me. It just gives me flashbacks to using my A6300 and recording something and having to wait for the camera to cool down before I can record something else, missing an important shot at something like a wedding. I can't deal with that, so I canceled my R6 order. I'm going all in on the A7S III. As I said, potentially gonna get 2 of them. So touch wood, we may have the perfect camera on our hands. I can't see any faults in this camera so far from everything I've seen. Even in all the videos I've watched so far, there doesn't appear to be any faults. Fingers crossed. If you want to see some extremely in-depth coverage of this camera, check out Gerald Undun's video. I'll pop it down below. I watched his video over the Sony announcement video. He covers a lot of things and it's definitely one that you should check out. So I'll pop that link down below if you are interested. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching today. You can click those buttons down below if you want to. You know what to do. I'm not going to force you. Otherwise, let me know down below what you think of this camera. Are you as excited about it as I am? Did it meet all your expectations? I don't see why it wouldn't, but if there's something you would like to have seen or if you're not too happy about, let me know down below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.